there's a river that runs through you, not a river of water, but of energy, of spirit, eternal, quiet, and profoundly alive. You were born into this stream, not to grasp at the banks, not to cling to the rocks, but to flow effortlessly with the current of life. And yet, so many of us have forgotten. We hold on. We resist. We clutch stories and identities and pains like anchors tied to our ankles. We cling to the past, to expectations, to control, to what they said or didn't say, did or didn't do. We tighten our fists around things that are already floating downstream, believing that somehow in our clenching, we are safe. But the soul doesn't cling. The soul flows. The ego clings, that manufactured identity born of comparison and separation. It clings because it fears dissolving. It clings because it believes in lack. It clings because it has been conditioned to survive by controlling, by proving, by protecting a fragile sense of self built entirely on illusion. But the soul knows it cannot be harmed. The soul knows it was never lacking. The soul knows it doesn't need to become anything because it already is everything. It simply flows like wind through trees, like breath in the lungs, like love that does not demand anything in return. When you wake up to this truth, not as a concept, but as a felt reality, you begin to see how much energy has been wasted in holding on to what hurt you, holding on to who hurt you, holding on to who you used to be or who you think you need to become. It is all weight. It is all unnecessary. It is all the ego's attempt to control what the soul already understands, that everything is impermanent, and that impermanence is not the enemy, but the gateway to liberation. You do not need to carry what no longer serves you, not because it is wrong, not because it is bad, but because it is heavy. You were not made for heaviness. You were not made for tightness. You were not made to grasp. You were made to expand, to evolve, to become soft and supple and surrendered to the mysterious rhythm of life. You were made to flow. And flowing is not weakness. It is not passive. It is the most powerful act of trust. It is the choice to no longer resist the current of your own evolution. It is the courage to let go of the known and surrender to the vastness of the unknown. It is the decision to stop trying to control outcomes and start honoring alignment. It is the daily sacred practice of asking, where is life trying to take me, and am I willing to go? So ask yourself now, what are you clinging to? What story? What identity? What memory? What resentment? What version of yourself have you outgrown, but are still performing because it's familiar? And what would it feel like just for a moment to loosen your grip, to unclench your mental fists and allow life to move through you, not around you? Because here's the truth. When you release the need to control, you become available to grace. When you let go, you don't fall, you rise. You rise into the higher frequency of your own being. You rise into the flow state of the soul. You rise into a rhythm that is not frantic or forceful, but deeply peaceful, deeply wise, deeply loving. There is a quiet confidence in those who flow. They do not need to prove, they do not need to rush, they are not seduced by urgency or pressure. They move from presence. They listen to the whispers beneath the noise. They trust the signs. They walk away when it's time. They stay when it's true. They live not by force, but by alignment. You were never meant to swim against the current of your own truth. And what is your truth? That you are not the stories you've been telling yourself. You are not your wounds. You are not your resume or your failures or your reputation. You are not the name they gave you or the roles you were assigned. You are something far more eternal. A soul here for a fleeting moment, learning to remember who you are. And in remembering, you heal. You heal not by adding more to yourself, but by releasing what is not you. You don't become whole by accumulation. You become whole by subtraction. Letting go of the fear, letting go of the shame, letting go of the need for validation, letting go of the timelines, letting go of the weight. You don't need it anymore. You never did. Flowing means saying yes to your own becoming. It means no longer holding yourself hostage to a version of you that was necessary for survival but is no longer aligned with who you're becoming. It means trusting that what is meant for you will never require you to shrink, to strive, or to betray your own peace. Flowing means releasing the people who cannot meet you where you're going, not with bitterness, not with resentment, but with deep gratitude for what they showed you and a quiet bow as you both continue your separate ways. Flowing means grieving what has ended, but not dragging the corpse with you. Flowing means allowing the space in your life to be empty for a while, not rushing to fill it with noise, distraction, or new attachments, but trusting that the empty space is sacred, that the void is the womb of your next becoming, that silence is not absence, but presence preparing you for more. So often we say we want peace, but we are unwilling to release the chaos. We say we want to be free, but we are addicted to our chains. We say we want to flow, but we grip the riverbanks with white knuckles. The soul waits patiently, never pushing, never punishing, just whispering gently, let go, let it flow, I know the way. And when you finally listen, when you finally soften, when you finally surrender, everything changes. Not because the world has changed, but because your inner world is no longer resisting the current of life. You stop trying to swim upstream. You stop arguing with reality. You stop fighting your own expansion. And in that stillness, in that surrender, you remember you were always the river. You were always the flow. You were never the rock. There is a sacred intelligence flowing through all of life, an unspoken harmony that arranges galaxies and opens flowers, that carries the tide and breathes your lungs without needing permission. That same force flows through you. It's not something you must earn. It's not something that depends on your achievements or your past. It is your nature. The soul is not something you possess, it is what you are. And the soul knows how to flow because it is not bound by ego. It does not confuse stillness with stagnation. It does not mistake letting go for losing. It sees the truth clearly, that everything you're afraid of losing was never truly yours, only borrowed for a time, a teacher in disguise, a season in the symphony of your evolution. The ego builds walls, but the soul opens windows. The ego fears death, but the soul knows only transformation. The ego asks, what will they think? The soul asks, what is true for me? And you must decide, moment by moment, breath by breath, whose voice you will follow. Do you want a life that clings or a life that flows? Clinging says, I am not enough, so I must hold on to this person, this job, this image, this pain, or I will disappear. Flowing says, I'm already whole, so I trust that what leaves is no longer aligned and what comes is already mine in spirit. One is fear masquerading as love. The other is love, pure and unshaken by circumstance. Let this moment be the moment you come back to yourself. Back to the still, wise, unshakable presence beneath the noise of your mind. Back to the space where you don't need to prove anything. Where you don't need to fix yourself. Where you don't need to get somewhere else. Back to the simple, sacred truth. You are already held. You are already guided. You are already flowing when you stop trying to be the river and allow yourself to become the water. You cannot flow while clinging, and you cannot cling while flowing. The soul invites you into a different kind of power, not the kind that forces outcomes or dominates others, but the kind that rises from radical trust. Trust that what is falling away is making space. Trust that what didn't work was never meant to last. Trust that the timing is perfect, even when it makes no sense to the mind. Trust that something ancient and eternal is always on your side, even when life feels like unraveling. Especially then, there is beauty in the unraveling. There is grace in the undoing. There is peace in the pause between chapters. And when you stop resisting that space, when you stop trying to rush through the uncomfortable unknown, you will feel something holy begin to open. The weight will lift. The breath will deepen. The tears will soften into prayers. The fight will dissolve into presence. And presence, my friend, is the doorway to the soul. When you are fully here, not regretting the past or rehearsing the future, you remember the only thing that has ever been real, this moment, this breath, this now. And in that now, the need to cling dissolves. Because you see, there is nothing to cling to. There is only this infinite moment of becoming. This is the invitation. This is the path. This is the liberation. To trust your flow more than you trust your fear. Your pain has shaped you, but it does not define you. Your story is sacred, but it is not your prison. You are not bound to what once broke you. You are not required to relive what you've already outgrown. You can thank the past for its lessons and then let it go. Not because you're denying it, but because you're no longer choosing to suffer under its weight. The past is not your home. The soul lives forward. You are not meant to stay where your spirit has already left. You are not meant to dwell in spaces that no longer resonate. You are not meant to repeat patterns that keep you small. You are not meant to make yourself digestible to those who cannot taste the truth of your being. You are not meant to betray your own peace for the comfort of others. You are meant to flow. And to flow, you must trust that letting go is not the end, it is the beginning. The soul doesn't cling to roles, titles, outcomes, or attachments. It doesn't demand proof. It simply flows faithfully, naturally, freely with the source from which it came. You are that source in form. You are that eternal presence expressing itself in a human lifetime. You are not separate from the divine. You are a unique, unrepeatable current in the ocean of God. And when you stop resisting that current, you return home to your deepest truth. I am not this fear. I am not this grasping. I am not this control. I am the one who watches it all come and go, untouched and unafraid. Flowing is not about giving up. It is about giving in. Not to weakness, but to wisdom. Not to chaos, but to the deeper order. Not to apathy, but to alignment. It is the realization that the more tightly you hold on, the more you suffer. And the more you surrender, the more you see life was never working against you. It was always working for your awakening. So breathe, soften, listen, let go of your agenda for a moment and ask the deeper question, what is life trying to show me? Where is it trying to lead me? What truth have I been avoiding? And what would happen if I simply said yes? This is not the path of the world. It is the path of the soul. It is slower, deeper, quieter, but it is also more powerful. It doesn't rush to fix. It doesn't cling to old maps. It doesn't need guarantees. It simply flows because it trusts. And as you begin to live from this place, your life changes. Not always in visible ways, but in foundational ways. You feel lighter, you react less, you forgive more easily, you stop explaining yourself to people who were never meant to understand. You find peace in solitude. You let love find you instead of chasing it. You speak your truth, not to convince, but because it's who you are. You live not from fear, but from freedom. And this is the deepest freedom, not the freedom to control everything, but the freedom from the need to let that be enough for now. Let it be enough to breathe. Let it be enough to not know what's next, but to trust that something sacred is unfolding. Let it be enough to release what you were never meant to carry. Let it be enough to simply return to the flow again and again, as many times as you need. You are not late, you are not behind, you are not broken, you are not too much or not enough. You are exactly where your soul needs you to be, learning, shedding, remembering, returning. Because you've never truly left. You've only been distracted, you've only been afraid. You've only been trying to manage a river that was always here to carry you. But now you remember. Now you feel it rising in you, the call to flow, the whisper to let go, the sacred courage to stop clinging and start living fully, freely, fearlessly. Flowing is a remembrance, not a destination. You don't become worthy of it, you return to it. It's what you were before they told you who to be, before the world wrapped its labels around your light. Before you learned to perform for approval or to hide your wounds beneath a polished smile, the flow was always there beneath the striving, beneath the shame, beneath the noise. It's the you that exists when there's nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to cling to, just presence, just love, just the gentle, patient rhythm of your soul moving in time with the infinite. When you stop trying to carry the weight of your entire life on your shoulders, something holy happens. You begin to feel the hands of the divine beneath you, invisible, steady, holding you even when you can't see them. You stop gripping so tightly to outcomes, and you start trusting in the unfolding. You stop trying to make people stay, and you start honoring the way love expands when it's not possessed. You stop controlling the narrative, and you start living the truth. This is not complacency. This is not apathy. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is the deepest courage there is, to trust your inner knowing more than external noise, to walk away when it dishonors your soul, to release what you've outgrown, even when your hands shake, to say yes to the quiet, sacred, unglamorous process of healing without needing applause, to no longer make decisions from fear, but from the freedom of your spirit. You are not here to be weighed down by old stories. You are not here to live in someone else's version of who you should be. You are not here to repeat ancestral patterns of suffering because you think pain is noble. You are here to break the cycle, to breathe a new breath, to say, it ends with me, not in anger, not in pride, but in clarity, in peace, in love. You are here to choose differently. And every moment offers that choice to cling or to flow, to resist or to surrender, to live from fear or from freedom. Some days you will forget. That's okay. Some days the grip will tighten again around your expectations, your history, your identity. But each time, the soul will gently remind you, you don't need to hold on. You are held. You don't need to carry it. You are carried. Letting go is not an event, it is a practice, a returning, a loosening, a remembering that the more you allow, the more you align, the more you trust, the more you transform. The more you flow, the more you heal, not by fixing anything, but by finally realizing that nothing essential was ever broken. You are not here to become someone else. You are here to unbecome everything that was never really you. Peel it back. The guilt, the people-pleasing, the perfectionism, the pressure to perform, the need to be understood by everyone, the urge to keep proving your worth. Let it all drop away. Strip yourself of everything that doesn't feel like truth. Watch how light you become when you stop dragging what you were never meant to carry. This is the miracle of flowing. It clears the space for the real you to emerge. Not the wounded self, not the performing self, not the pleasing self, the soul self, the one who trusts timing, the one who lives in presence, the one who doesn't argue with reality, the one who breathes deeply and walks lightly because they've realized that nothing real can be lost and nothing unreal is worth holding on to. And so the healing continues. It deepens. It doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't come with fireworks or grand revelations. Sometimes it's a quiet shift, the moment you don't react to the old trigger, the moment you choose silence over defending yourself, the moment you let someone go without needing closure. That's healing. That's flow. And you begin to realize that you are no longer in a rush. You are no longer desperate for answers. You are no longer searching for validation in eyes that do not know how to see you. You are no longer willing to abandon yourself for love. You are no longer willing to distort your truth just to be accepted. You flow now. You honor the rhythm of your own soul. You listen, not to the fear in your head, but to the knowing in your heart. You allow others to think what they think. You allow life to unfold in its own timing. You allow the unknown to be not a threat, but a temple. You are becoming free, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Because you no longer seek to control what cannot be controlled. Because you no longer fear the silence. Because you no longer need to carry every burden alone. Because you have remembered the sacred truth. The soul doesn't cling, it flows. And in that flowing, you begin to see others differently too. You stop demanding that they stay the same. You stop needing them to complete you. You stop blaming them for your wounds. You stop trying to convince, convert, or change them. You begin to love in a new way, not from need, but from overflow. Not from fear, but from freedom. Not to fill a hole, but to share your wholeness. You forgive, not to let them off the hook, but to unhook yourself from the chain of suffering. You release, not because you don't care, but because you've decided to care for your peace more than your pride. You walk away when needed, not in anger, but in truth. You stay when aligned, not out of fear, but out of love. This is the work of the soul. Not to fight, but to flow. Not to conquer, but to remember. Not to cling, but to let the river carry you home. And the more you do this, the more you will find that what is meant for you doesn't require effort to hold. It fits, it resonates, it flows with you. The people, the opportunities, the visions, they feel light, they feel aligned, they feel like truth. And those that don't, you bless them and release them. No resistance, no resentment, just clarity, just grace. You are not here to suffer. You are not here to earn love. You are not here to be everything for everyone. You are here to embody your soul. And the soul is not in a hurry. It is not in panic. It is not at war. It is water. It is wind. It is light. And it knows the way. Every moment you let go, something within you softens. The heart opens. The breath deepens. You begin to feel again not the sharpness of suffering, but the quiet pulse of aliveness. And in that aliveness, you meet yourself. Not the idea of you, not the projection, but the real you, the ancient you, the unshakable you. The one who has walked through fire and still chooses grace. The one who has lost so much and yet still sings. The one who has broken, bent, wept, crawled, and yet never forgot the truth, no matter how dim it became in the noise of the world. And the truth is this: you are not your trauma. You are not your past. You are not your wounds. You are the presence that witnessed it all. You are the light that survived. You are the consciousness that continues to rise. Your soul doesn't cling to pain because your soul knows pain is not your identity. Your soul doesn't cling to success because your soul knows success is not your worth. Your soul doesn't cling to certainty because your soul knows that life is never meant to be figured out. It's meant to be felt, danced, lived, flowed with. You begin to understand, not just mentally, but with your whole being. Resistance is the only thing that hurts. Not the event, not the loss, not the ending, the resistance to it, the refusal to let it move through you. The clinging to the idea that it should have been different. The obsession with rewriting the past in your mind. The ego screams, it wasn't supposed to be this way. But the soul whispers, it was. It had to be. Not as punishment, as preparation. Preparation for what? For this sacred moment of awakening, this sacred return to yourself, this sacred choice to no longer live in bondage to the past, this sacred breath of surrender, this sacred decision to let life love you without needing you to control it. You see, now peace is not found in fixing, it is found in flowing. It is not found in having all the answers. It is found in becoming the space where the answers can land. And that space is still. That space is soft. That space is unclenched, unarmored, unafraid. So many of us carry invisible armor. We tighten around life, bracing for impact. We anticipate rejection. We rehearse abandonment. We prepare for loss. We protect ourselves from the very experiences that would set us free. But freedom never comes through defense. Freedom comes through openness, through willingness, through flow. Drop the armor now. It is not needed here. You are safe to be soft. You are safe to be open. You are safe to let go. And yes, your mind will tell you that to flow is to risk everything, that if you surrender, you'll fall apart. But the soul knows what falls apart is only what was never true to begin with. Let the false self unravel, let the story dissolve, let the illusion burn. You are not here to live a tightly controlled life. You are here to live a truthful life. And truth has no need for clinging. You don't have to force what's meant for you. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to hold on to love with a white knuckle grip. Love that is real doesn't need to be caged. It flows to you freely as an echo of your own alignment. This is the shift. This is the healing. This is the moment you become new, not by becoming someone else, but by shedding the untrue. And the world around you begins to mirror this. You attract with ease what you used to chase. You release what no longer resonates without fear. You speak your truth with clarity and softness. You stop asking, will they accept me? And start asking, am I accepting myself? Because the soul doesn't seek approval. It lives in integrity. And that integrity is not perfection. It's not a curated image. It's the quiet knowing that you are who you say you are, even when no one is watching. It's the soft power of being at home in your own spirit. It's the lightness of not needing to cling to masks. You are returning to that now, and in your return, you heal. You heal generations of suppression. You heal lifetimes of clinging. You heal the fractured relationship between your mind and your essence. Because flowing is not just personal, it is sacred. It is ancestral. It is collective. When you choose to flow, you liberate others. When you let go, you give others permission to do the same. When you live in presence, you become a lighthouse for those still lost in the storm of control. You don't need to save anyone. Your light is the invitation. Your flow is the medicine. So don't be afraid of the emptiness that comes when you let go. That emptiness is not void. It is space. It is room for the real to emerge. It is the fertile ground of transformation. And in that ground, new life will grow. Not because you forced it, not because you planned it, but because you became available to it. You flowed, and now you see that nothing real is ever lost, that what was taken was only ever borrowed, that what fell away was only meant to walk you to the threshold of your deeper becoming, that every detour was a necessary redirection, that every heartbreak was a holy invitation, that every ending was really a beginning dressed in silence. You see that clinging never protected you, it only exhausted you. You see that control was a disguise for fear. You see that your safety has never been in the known, but in the truth. You see that love, real love, never requires you to abandon yourself. And so you choose again and again to flow, not perfectly, not always easily, but honestly, gently, wholeheartedly. Because flowing is not about being above pain. It's about not becoming it. It's about allowing yourself to feel fully, vulnerably, without letting that feeling become your identity. It's about meeting yourself where you are while still trusting where you're going. It's about no longer carrying yesterday's weight into tomorrow's miracle. Then let us close, softly and clearly, like the last ripple of a river disappearing into the sea. You are not here to grasp. You are not here to control the current. You are not here to rewrite the past or manipulate the future. You are here to be, to open, to breathe, to allow the mystery to move through you like a sacred wind, to become so light that nothing sticks, nothing stains, nothing steals your peace. Flowing doesn't mean nothing matters. It means you no longer suffer unnecessarily over what does. Let the world change, let people leave, let dreams evolve, let chapters close, let the self you once were dissolve into the self you're becoming. Let it all move, let it all flow, because the soul doesn't cling. It flows, it trusts, it breathes, it loves, and it remembers always that nothing real can ever be lost. And neither can you. You are the river. Now flow. There is nothing broken in you, nothing that needs repair. You are not a machine gone wrong or a puzzle with missing pieces. You are not a project that needs managing or a story that needs rewriting to suit someone else's narrative. You are not here to be fixed because you are not faulty. You are here to be freed. Freed from the illusion that you ever needed to be more than what you are in this sacred breathing moment. From the time we arrive on this earth, we are bombarded with subtle suggestions that we are incomplete, that we are somehow not enough, not yet, not quite, not ever, unless we strive, unless we earn, unless we prove. But the truth, the eternal truth is this: you arrived whole. You arrived divine, you arrived worthy, you arrived enough. What came later was conditioning. What came later were opinions. What came later were stories that others had written in their own pain and unknowingly passed on to you. But the soul beneath those stories, it has never changed. You see, the soul doesn't need fixing. It only longs to be remembered. It only longs to be released from the prison of your own forgetting. You are not your wounds. You are not your thoughts. You are not your past. You are the awareness beneath it, all spacious, still, unshaken, and eternal. You are the witness who sees it all but is bound by none of it. So why do we spend so much time trying to fix ourselves? Because we have believed the loudest voice, not the truest one. We have given our attention to the surface noise, the opinions of the world, the judgments of culture, the comparisons we've made, and in doing so, we have silenced the whisper of our inner knowing, that sacred voice that does not shout, that does not condemn, but gently reminds us, you were never meant to live like this. We don't need to become someone else to be free. We only need to remove what is not us. And the beautiful thing is, freedom does not require force. It requires surrender. Not a giving up, but a giving over. A letting go of the armor we built to survive in a world that taught us to fear being ourselves. The pain we carry is often not our own. It is the inherited fear of those who came before us. Their doubt, their scarcity, their trauma, their shame, passed on not because they were cruel, but because they were asleep. And now we have the choice not to fix what they gave us, but to release it. We were taught to seek wholeness in doing, in earning, and achieving, as if we were born empty and must spend our lives filling a void. But there is no void in the soul. Only the illusion of separation from the source that created you. When you return to that source, when you become still, when you breathe, when you listen, you begin to see with new eyes. You begin to remember that wholeness was never something to seek. It is something to return to, something to uncover, something that's been buried beneath layers of expectation, fear, and identity. Imagine a magnificent sculpture hidden beneath a block of stone. The sculptor does not add anything to the marble, he removes what is not the masterpiece. And so it is with your life. Healing is not about becoming something new. It's about shedding what you are not. And in that shedding, you find the freedom you've been chasing all along. There is no need to run anymore. There is no need to strive toward some imagined perfection. The soul does not evolve by force. It unfolds by grace, by stillness, by trust, by the deep inner knowing that nothing real can be threatened, that who you truly are cannot be damaged, that the self beneath all the noise, the timeless, formless, eternal self, does not need therapy, does not need improvement. It needs only recognition. And when you begin to see yourself through the eyes of the divine, you stop asking, what's wrong with me? And begin to ask, what do I need to let go of that's not mine? You begin to ask, what story am I still telling that's keeping me small? You begin to ask, whose approval am I still chasing, and why do I believe I need it? These are not questions to judge yourself, they are keys to your own prison. Because the only thing keeping you from freedom is the belief that you are not already free. You were conditioned to believe that your worth was tied to doing, but your worth is in your being. You were taught to hustle for love, but love is your nature. You were raised to believe peace is something to find, but peace is what happens when you stop running. The ego will tell you that you're not enough, that you must strive harder, perform better, prove your value, but the soul waits patiently for the day you turn inward and remember, you are not your ego. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not the role you play, the name you were given, the mask you wear. You are not your mistakes or your achievements. You are not what they said about you, and you are not what you said about yourself when you forgot who you were. You are the sky, not the weather. You are the ocean, not the waves. You are the light, not the lampshade. And when you recognize this, when you truly embody this, the need to fix yourself begins to fall away. You stop trying to polish your reflection and start honoring the radiance that's always been there. Freedom is not the absence of flaws, it's the absence of judgment. It's the end of resistance. It's the softening that happens when you meet yourself with compassion instead of criticism. When you hold your sadness like a child and say, you are safe with me. When you embrace your confusion without trying to solve it. When you allow your humanity without labeling it as failure. This is the paradox of awakening. The moment you stop trying to change yourself is the moment transformation begins. Because true change is not born from shame. It is born from love. When you finally see yourself clearly, not as damaged, but divine, you don't need to be fixed. You simply allow your true self to be seen, to be known, to be honored. And in that space, life begins to unfold in its own miraculous rhythm. There is a great stillness within you, deeper than your fear, deeper than your past. It is the stillness of your own divine essence, that sacred flame that was never extinguished, only covered. And when you sit in silence, when you breathe deeply, when you let go of the need to prove or protect or perform, that stillness becomes your teacher. It whispers the truth you've always known, that you are not here to become worthy. You are here to remember that you already are. The world may never affirm this truth for you. In fact, it often does the opposite. It celebrates effort, not essence. It rewards masks, not authenticity. But the soul doesn't care for applause. It longs for alignment. It longs for you to remember what it whispered when you were still a child, before the conditioning, before the comparison, before the pretending. That whisper said, you are already home. You are already whole. You are already free. But to hear it now, you must unlearn. You must unlearn the belief that healing comes from adding more and more books, more affirmations, more rituals, more effort. Sometimes healing is subtraction. Sometimes the medicine is silence. Sometimes the breakthrough is in the breakdown. And sometimes the most spiritual act is to stop trying and simply allow yourself to be exactly as you are, without resistance, without apology. This doesn't mean you won't grow. It means your growth will no longer be a frantic race to fix what you believe is broken. Instead, it becomes a gentle unfolding, a return to your true nature, the way a rose doesn't strive to bloom, but simply opens in the light. You were born to open. Not to earn the sun, but to reveal what has always been hidden beneath the armor of self-doubt and the weight of expectation. Look around at nature. The tree does not apologize for how it bends toward the light. The river does not question its twists. The mountain does not feel shame for its stillness. The moon does not ask permission to shine. And yet, you, the most miraculous creation of all, were told somewhere along the way that you must apologize for simply being who you are. That you must hide your tenderness, that your sensitivity is weakness, that your joy must be earned, your tears must be silenced, and your uniqueness must be diluted so others feel more comfortable. But you were never meant to be acceptable. You were meant to be authentic. And authenticity begins the moment you stop trying to be more and start allowing yourself to be enough. Not because of what you've done, but because of what you are, a divine expression of life itself. You do not need to fix your pain. You need to listen to it. Let it speak. Let it rise. Let it move through you like the tide. Don't dam it up with false positivity or drown it with distractions. Let it tell you where it hurts. Let it show you what it's still carrying. And then, not with judgment, but with compassion, place your hand over your heart and say, I see you. I hear you. I'm with you now. You've tried being hard on yourself. You've tried self-criticism and guilt and endless striving. Where did it get you? Tired, disconnected, afraid to slow down, afraid to stop, afraid to be still. But try love, try gentleness, try radical self-acceptance, not because you've earned it, but because your soul was never unworthy to begin with. It's easy to love yourself when you feel successful, inspired, enlightened. But freedom is found when you can love yourself in the confusion, in the darkness, in the mess. The soul doesn't reject your mess. It moves through it like light through shadow. It doesn't say, you should be better by now. It says, welcome, you're safe here. Let's go deeper. And when you go deeper, you'll find the pain wasn't asking for punishment, it was asking for presence. It wasn't a sign that you are broken. It was a sign that something old is ready to be released. You are not your trauma. You are the space that witnessed it. You are not your depression. You are the awareness that feels it. You are not your anxiety. You are the stillness beneath it. And when you stop identifying with the waves and remember you are the ocean, everything changes. Not because your circumstances change overnight, but because you stop resisting what is, and in doing so, you become truly free. You do not have to pretend anymore. You do not have to force joy. You do not have to chase perfection. You are allowed to be exactly where you are, with every contradiction, every question unanswered. Enlightenment is not the absence of humanity, it is the embrace of it. The fully awakened soul does not live above the storm, it knows how to dance in the rain. So stop asking, what do I need to fix in me? And begin asking, what do I need to love in me? Stop trying to escape your feelings and instead invite them to tea. They have wisdom. They have stories. They have roots that trace back generations. You don't need to analyze every detail. You don't need to solve every wound. You need only to stay with it, breathe through it, trust the process of release, not as a technique, but as a sacred return to self. Because the self, the real self, the one untouched by the world, has never been damaged. It is not a personality. It is not an identity. It is not a role. It is the pure light of presence. It is the observer. It is the stillness beneath all doing. And when you sit in that stillness long enough, when you become aware of the awareness itself, healing ceases to be a goal and becomes a natural byproduct of returning to truth. You are already that which you seek. Not someday, not if, not once you've read one more book or healed one more wound. Right now, in this breath, in this moment, as you are, the only veil is the thought that you are not. Spiritual freedom is not about becoming better, it's about becoming real. Not in the eyes of others, but in your own. It's the moment you stop waiting for someone else to see you and you finally see yourself. The moment you stop waiting for permission and you grant it to yourself. The moment you stop running from your past and realize that every step, even the painful ones, were part of your unfolding. Nothing has been wasted, not your detours, not your heartbreak, not your silence, not your confusion. Even your regrets have led you here to the edge of awakening, to the doorway of truth. And now you must decide, will you keep trying to fix yourself into worthiness, or will you lay down your tools and simply return to your divine essence? Because freedom begins when you no longer believe that your value is negotiable. When you stop asking the world to validate what was already written in the stars the day you were born, you were not made to be perfect. You were made to be real. And in your realness, you radiate more light than any mask ever could. The healing you seek is not in becoming someone else. It's in unbecoming everything you are not. Every belief that says you're too much or not enough. Every lie that says you must earn love. Every inherited shame that says your emotions are inconvenient. Every label that was never yours to wear. Let them fall away. Let them burn in the fire of your awareness. And let what's left, the raw, tender, powerful truth of who you are, stand tall in its sacredness. Because the truth is, you don't need to be fixed. You never did. You only need to stop believing the thought that says you do. The illusion that you need fixing is born from comparison. You measured yourself against someone else's path, someone else's timeline, someone else's rules. But the soul doesn't compare, it knows. It knows the perfection of your own journey. It knows that the seasons of your life do not follow a clock on the wall or a calendar in a planner. They follow the rhythm of the cosmos, the divine choreography of unfolding. Your winter is not your punishment. It is your preparation. Your delay is not your denial. It is your deepening. And your breakdown is not your end. It is your initiation. You were never behind. You were becoming. You were never off track. You were being rerouted. You were never late. You were ripening. And all this time you thought life was punishing you when it was actually preparing you to carry your light with humility, to carry your freedom with reverence, to carry your voice with truth. There is something in you that has never been touched by shame, something in you that has never forgotten your original light. And if you sit with yourself in silence, if you listen deeply without trying to solve, that something will rise. And it will not be loud. It will be still. Like the hush of early dawn before the world wakes. Like the sacred pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. That stillness is your truth. That stillness is yourself. And it doesn't need healing. It needs space. You do not become more valuable by becoming more palatable. You do not become more worthy by becoming more agreeable. You do not become more loved by becoming less you. The moment you sacrifice your truth for someone else's comfort, you lose the very freedom your soul came here to embody. You were not born to fit in. You were born to awaken. To show others what is possible when a human being stops trying to fix themselves and starts trusting the perfection of their own becoming. And yes, it can be messy, but freedom is not clean. It is raw, it is vulnerable, it is beautifully human. And in your most human moments, your tears, your fears, your quiet longings, the light of your divinity shines the brightest. It says, even this belongs. Even this is sacred. Even this is part of the unfolding. Let go of the belief that your pain disqualifies you. It qualifies you. It softens your heart, humbles your mind, cracks the shell of the ego so the soul can pour through. Do not hide it. Do not bury it under spiritual bypassing or intellectual armor. Bring it into the light. Hold it in your hands like a sacred relic. Let it teach you. Let it open you. Let it remind you that even the darkest night holds a purpose you may not yet understand. The caterpillar doesn't understand the chrysalis. It only knows stillness. It only knows the surrender of no longer crawling. It only knows the silence that precedes transformation. And so it is with your journey. You may not understand why it feels so heavy. You may not see the wings forming beneath your skin, but one day you will break through what once confined you. One day you will fly, not because you fixed yourself, but because you remembered yourself. And that is the great paradox. The more you try to change yourself from a place of rejection, the more you suffer. But the moment you embrace yourself fully in the raw, the real, the incomplete, something miraculous happens. You begin to heal, not by force, but by love. You begin to transform not by effort, but by grace. You begin to rise. Not because you climbed a ladder of self-improvement, but because you laid down the burden of pretending and let yourself be carried by truth. You don't need a new identity. You don't need to perform your healing. You don't need to prove your progress. You only need to breathe, to pause, to return. And in that return, to whisper softly to yourself, I am here, I am whole, I am free. Your freedom was never lost. It was only forgotten, covered over by the noise of the world, hidden beneath layers of conditioning and survival. But the truth cannot be erased. It can only be ignored. And the moment you turn toward it, the moment you trust that whisper more than the scream of fear, the veil lifts. Not all at once, sometimes gently, sometimes painfully, but always perfectly timed. You have tried being everything you thought you needed to be. Now try being nothing but who you are. You have tried controlling every outcome. Now try trusting the mystery. You have tried running. Now try resting. You have tried earning. Now try receiving. And see what happens when you no longer demand anything from life except to show up with an open heart. You are not your defense mechanisms. You are not your coping patterns. You are not your shadows. You are the one who is aware of them. And awareness is healing. It does not condemn. It does not fix. It simply sees. And in seeing without judgment, the very patterns that once held you captive begin to dissolve, not because you fought them, but because you loved yourself through them. So many spend their lives chasing enlightenment as if it were some peak to reach, some badge to wear. But true awakening is so simple. It's the moment you sit down, exhale, and realize, I am okay. I am enough. I don't have to become anything other than this. That is what the great mystics spoke of. That is what freedom feels like. Not a constant high, not a state of perfection, but a profound peace with what is. A deep yes to your own aliveness. The soul doesn't need to be impressive. It doesn't care how many people approve of you. It only cares if you approve of you. If you can look in the mirror and not flinch. If you can stand in your truth without shrinking. If you can walk into the world no longer asking, am I enough? But instead declaring, I am. And when you live from that place, something extraordinary happens. You begin to attract people who recognize your truth, not because you perform for them, but because your energy resonates with their soul. You begin to draw in experiences that match your authenticity, not because you manipulated them, but because life mirrors back what you believe. And the more you embody your own freedom, the more you become a permission slip for others to do the same. You don't need to be fixed, just freed. Freed from old identities, freed from generational wounds, freed from expectations that were never yours, freed from the lie that says you must be anyone other than who you already are. The healing is in the allowing, the freedom is in the remembering, the awakening is in the surrender. So pause right now, breathe. Feel your heart beating. That is not brokenness. That is life, that is love, that is divinity pulsing through you. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to fight for it. You are it. There is nothing wrong with you. There never was. There is only the forgetting and the sacred, glorious, unstoppable journey of remembering. And so we return not to where we began, but to the place within that never moved. You may have searched in books and rituals and gurus and systems. You may have traveled miles, spent years, and emptied your heart looking for the key to wholeness. But the key was never far. It was always within. Not in the striving, but in the surrender. Not in the fixing, but in the releasing. Let it be known, the work is not to fix yourself. The work is to stop abandoning yourself, to stop betraying your truth for the comfort of others, to stop dimming your light to fit the mold of the fearful, to stop apologizing for existing. Your freedom does not come through perfecting your flaws. It comes through honoring your wholeness, even in the presence of those flaws. Because wholeness isn't about being flawless. It's about being true. The wound you thought disqualified you, it made you a healer. The heartbreak you thought was the end, It was a portal. The mistake you thought would define you, it was the invitation to forgive, to rise, to soften into your sacred humanness. And the shame you've carried for years, it was never yours to hold. You can lay it down now. You are safe to be seen. You are safe to be known. You are safe to be loved, not for who you could be, but for who you already are. Can you feel it? The softening in your chest, the quiet recognition in your belly, the sacred breath returning to your body. That is you coming home. That is you remembering. That is you no longer rushing, no longer fighting, no longer trying to fix what was never broken. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a mystery to be lived. You are a sacred unfolding, not a final product. There is nothing final about you. You are ongoing, infinite, evolving, yet never incomplete. The seed does not apologize for not being the tree. The moon does not shrink because it is not yet full, neither should you. Because freedom is not something you arrive at. It is something you allow. It is not a mountaintop you must climb. It is a truth you must remember. The prison was never made of steel. It was made of thoughts, of stories, of beliefs passed down by the afraid, the ashamed, the asleep. And now you awaken. Awakening is not about transcending your humanity. It's about embracing it. It's about seeing that your fear, your sadness, your longing, they are not signs of failure. They are signs of aliveness. Your sensitivity is not a burden, it is your gift. Your longing is not your weakness, it is your guidance. Your emotions are not liabilities, they are invitations to deepen. And when you stop resisting them, when you stop labeling your inner experience as wrong or broken or messy, you begin to live as you were always meant to, free, fluid, whole. There is such power in your softness, such beauty in your vulnerability, such truth in your tenderness. You do not have to harden to survive. You do not have to toughen up to be respected. You do not have to edit your soul for the approval of a world still asleep to its own divinity. Be soft, be open, be real. That is where your strength lives. That is where your peace is born. Forgive yourself, not because you were wrong, but because you believed you were unworthy. Forgive those who hurt you, not because they were right, but because they too forgot who they were. And in forgiveness, find your wings, not because you want to fly above life, but because you are finally light enough to walk through it with grace. The path forward is not paved in perfection. It is paved in presence, in allowing, in radical honesty, in compassion for your younger self, in tenderness toward the one inside you who tried so hard to be lovable. That one is not your enemy. That one is not your flaw. That one is your beginning. And now you are your return. Return to your body, return to your breath, return to the space between thoughts where truth still lives. Return to the moment again and again until the moment becomes your home. That's where freedom waits. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Always now. Let them misunderstand you. Let them label you. Let them doubt your path. You are not here to convince anyone of your worth. You are here to embody it, to walk it, to live so deeply in your truth that others remember their own by the way you move through the world. And no, you will not always get it right. You will falter. You will forget. You will fall into the old stories now and then. But that is not failure. That is the rhythm of remembering. That is the spiral dance of awakening. Each time deeper. Each time softer. Each time freer. So breathe. Feel this moment. Not with your mind, with your being. Can you see? There is nothing to fix. There is only something to feel, something to remember, something to love. And that something is you, whole, sacred, free.